You've been doing really good.
Please let me know if there's anything that I write that isn't. Hello, and welcome to Roll for Review, where we take a look at the best projects that have launched on Kickstarter for the tabletop role-playing world. My name is Joe. I created the Wanderer's Guide, and I make hobby board games and tabletop products for a living.
Hello, humanoids. I'm Hannah, also known as Halfling Hannah, and I'm a forever DM and a creator of DM resources on YouTube, Patreon, and my website, halflinghobbies.com.
And I am Alex, a designer and marketer for the Wanderer's Guide and an everyday TTRPG player and gamer. And I recently bought the DM handbook and hopefully will become a DM soon.
Yes, we have another one. And together we are Roll for Review, where the three of us collect TTRPG related Kickstarters like a Nothic collects forbidden knowledge, and then share our very favorites with you. So we, each of us, have found our three favorite projects on Kickstarter during this period. And what we're going to do is we are going to present these projects to you, explain what makes them cool and unique and intriguing and why we picked them, as well as tell you what is the best value if you're looking to back some of these Kickstarters, which we certainly hope that you will, and support those individuals who are out there creating cool things for the TTRPG community. And then we're going to give these a roll for review. This is a completely arbitrary number that we decide mostly on the fly, given the layout of the Kickstarter page, how interesting everything is, how likely we are to purchase it and use it in our own campaigns. And that is called a roll for review.
Yeah, we're super excited. We're looking at projects that launched in the very first half of June. We've had a little bit of some weird weeks there. Hannah has been sick, so we had a guest on the last recording, but we also had to like skip a week to like make sure that we are kind of like staying symmetric with the months and not like getting into a weird situation. But no, this has been really exciting. We're really excited to just look at these projects and talk to you about them. And we've got a lot of smaller projects this month. I know that we've had some weeks where it feels like all of the projects are just making like millions of dollars, and they're just super exciting. But this one, we've got a lot of small creators, a bunch of first-time creators too. So we're really excited to share it with you. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. And if this is your first time watching an episode, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel, or hit the notification bell on there so you can be notified when we do go live. All right.
Awesome. Well, I think I'm up first.
All right.
And I am going to talk about a new project, Wanderer's Guide to Merchants and Magic. Little bit of a contrived name, gotta say. Just kidding. I can guarantee trust me, when we made the Wanderer's Guide, it was not, we knew it was a very generic term.
You can copyright that. Come on, man.
No. But this is Wanderer's Guide to Merchants and Magic. This is really exciting. It's a 5e source book with ready-to-play magic shops, 100 plus new magic items, price list for popular items, and rules for trading magic items. To date, this project has over 1,700 backers, raised almost $60,000, and has just over 15 days to go.
Well done.
This is being created by, I don't think I'm going to say this right, but Evantier?
That's right.
I think
That's right, yeah.
All right, Evantier Games. And this is the first Kickstarter that they've run, and they are doing a very fantastic job. But I will also note that these are not first-time publishers. It's their first time kickstarting, but they have been very active and have a lot of stuff that they have printed on places like the DM's Guild, and have really highly rated products over there. So they are not new to the publishing game and to the writing game as far as like tabletop products go. So they do have at least a little bit of a background there. This is not their first time ever creating a product. So I will at least make sure that everyone's aware of that. But let's take a little bit of a dive into what this project is all about. So the Wanderer's Guide to Merchants and Magic. There are in this book, and I remember one of the biggest projects we've covered this year was a project called Seeker's Guide to Twisted Taverns, which had a bunch of just like ready to play, really cool, unique taverns in it. This, they're doing a kind of a riff on the same thing, where there are 20 ready to play magic shops, which is great. Ooh. So there are basically a bunch of magic item shops that they're like, this is what the shop is, here's what the shopkeeper is, here's the kind of stuff that they have, here's some quests maybe to go along with that. And so they're kind of giving you some like literally some like drag and drop type of magic shops that you can just put into your world and into your campaign. And that's always really fun to add like an interesting, unique thing, because sometimes, you know, when your players go shopping, it's a little generic, but every once in a while you get to go to a certain place in your world and in your campaign where it feels a little bit more special, or it feels like there's a little bit more life breathed into it. And this is kind of giving you a bit of those types of elements that you don't have to create on the fly. You can kind of take it and mold it to fit what your campaign looks like, but have a lot of really cool, interesting things in there. Other things that they have over 100 new magic items and printable cards. So that is great. They also have new rules, mechanics, and price lists. And so I was reading through a lot of this page and looking at what they had mentioned, and they were showing, they used a couple of discrepancies where it was like the price of one flying potion is equivalent in D&D 5th edition rules to 6 pairs of winged boots that allows a player to fly. And they were like, we're not trying to just say like Wizards of the Coast doesn't know what the hell they're doing, but there's some really weird things that don't make sense in the magic item pricing structure. And they're like, we're going to kind of like rebalance, in our opinion, by taking a long, hard look at those prices and what makes sense, so that there's always it's always something that's more relevant as far as like the cost of different magic items. There are also roll tables to make your own merchants and stuff like that. They have some new merchants that are being added by new very popular creators. In fact, one of the magic item shops is about to be unlocked through the stretch goals, is a one that is made by DM Dave, which we actually looked at his project a couple episodes ago. He launched his own Kickstarter campaign setting, and we talked about that. But that's really exciting. We're a lot of really cool stuff that's coming into this project. But yeah, I think overall, this is a fantastic resource to have if you are kind of like creating a new city, creating a new environment, creating a new place that your players as a dungeon master are going to go into, to add some really cool magical item shops to like make your world seem a little bit more alive and pop and a little bit more special, because they're really trying to like make these as creative and unique as possible. They have a couple of examples that you can download and look at and see how cool they are. I do think that those are fantastic. I love magic items. In fact, like I generally try to, like, in my own personal game, make magic items something that is like, okay, there's the main quest, but then every side quest is kind of leading you to a magic item for one of the characters. And that's kind of like how I like set up the structure of my campaign, is I don't want to just like give a bunch of magic items away, but I want like every side quest that they go on to be like one player gets a new magic item. But again, you're a little limited to like what type of magic items are already in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So this is just giving you a lot more options and a lot more of creative freedom. So help your heroes spend their gold. I like that as a motto for this book. It's really cool. I like it. There, you know, the page is not super in depth, but you know, it's from a trusted source. You know what you're getting with this as far as like what they're offering. They're like, hey, new magic items, new shops. This is what we have. What do you guys think?
You know what?
I think it's really useful.
Yeah, and also here's the thing. Looking at this page, there's also a tendency on Kickstarters. I think especially maybe a new time creator who might be looking at this, or who's looking to set up their own page, they tend to over-include and over-design their page. It's either a first-time creator under-designs or completely goes way crazy and adds too much. It doesn't get to the point. It's hard to follow. But this is a short page because it is concise. It says exactly what you get in the box, describes what it is, has a sample that you immediately download. Where can I buy a magic item? It has the description of the pages, and it's good. It has the stretch goals. It has the pledge levels. It is exactly down the list, exactly what you need on your page. And this is a great, immediate, the minimum you can have, make it look good, and make it effective. And I think they did a great job with the page.
I know what I'm getting when I look at this page, and when I back it, I know what I'm getting, and that is the most important part. And if I don't know what I'm getting, they have a nice little sample merchant that you can download that you
Yeah.
were showing on the screen just a minute ago. I love it when they include samples because, I mean, honestly, if you don't have enough in your product where you can give me a sample to know if I'm going to enjoy it or not, then you do not have enough in your
Yeah.
project in general. So, and this does not seem to be the case. It seems like this is a lot. Like there's a lot of content here that is very useful. Honestly, I hate magic shops because they're so stressful for a DM to run, trying to think of items. And especially if you're like me and you just panic and you make up items on the fly, like making sure that they're balanced and not going to
Oh,
break
God, yeah.
everything is extremely stressful. So I do a lot of slightly magical items. You were talking about how you don't like to give your party too many. I love giving my party magical items. I really do, but I make them slightly magical and then sometimes just weird. and,
Yeah.
and they always find really interesting ways to use them. And it seems like there's a lot of those kinds of things in here too that you can also use. And I like that.
Okay, so I'm looking at kind of this like breakdown here, and I really like what they have. They have the quick overview, the description, and role playing tips. They have trading tips and merchant biases, which is great.
Love
So
it.
you kind of know how to role play. Security measures, I think that that's funny. A merchant stat block, which hey,
smart.
might as
I
well
never
add
thought of
it
that.
in there, but like I guess if you need to kill the merchant, you know how.
Oh, I always have that on my NPC sheets, man.
You never
Murder
know.
hobos.
You
dude.
never know.
Quest hooks, inventory and unique items, champion stat blocks, or I'm sorry, companion stat blocks, yeah, and then inventory list with descriptions and prices. So that kind of gives you like an overview of how they're like dividing this up.
I like it.
One thing that I cannot find on this page, and again, I have not read every single word on this page. I can't tell how many pages this is, but I know what I'm getting. As far as like how many shops, how many items, but they have not said it's going to be approximately this many pages. That being said, let's talk about the price. This is one of the most affordable products that I've seen so far, especially for the amount of content that they're promising, and especially from people that already know what they're writing. You know, they've made stuff like this before. You can, and I like that they have the option, get the PDF for $19. You can get the soft cover for $31, or you can get the hardcover for $37. That is great.
That's really
pricing.
good.
Yeah.
That's
Generally, a book like this, $50, and you
Yeah.
don't blink an eye. You don't bat an eye. That's how much
Yeah.
RPG books cost, is
Yeah.
$50. They're showing a lot of artwork, right? It's not the best artwork I've ever seen, but they're showing a lot of artwork, and it's thoughtful and it's well placed. It's well done. They're showing a lot of content here, and $37 I feel like is a great price for something like this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
I agree.
that's a no-brainer.
yeah, I mean, if you're a PDF person, $19 for that
PDF
level
that.
of content, you can't
PDF that.
PDF that.
Yeah,
Quick.
you really
Like, that's
can't
easy.
go wrong.
Yeah.
Now, I have to give this a roll.
Yes.
And I feel like this is a great project. Is it the most amazing project we've seen all year? No. But this is a really cool project.
Solid.
This is good, solid content that any DM would not turn down getting a copy of if it was something that would help them prepare for their campaign. Now, here is where I kind of like feel a little bit like, okay, what do I give this, right? Me personally, I feel like this is solid, and I feel like a solid score is a 15. I feel like if I'm gonna set a DC check as a DM, 15 is like straight down the middle. Like I can expect the person to pass that, right? And they have far cleared the bar here. So I'm gonna give them a 15 for my roll. Super solid project, nice amount of content that you've shown here. And honestly, I'm really excited to see what this company puts out in the future. So if this is something that looks of interest to you, or you could find useful for your prep, then please do check out Wanderer's Guide. Again, great name.
I like the name.
Wanderer's Guide to Merchants and Magic 5th edition. So thanks.
Love it. Love it. All right. So, one of my gripes of D&D, especially 5th edition, but even so the earlier editions, is that it is very much missing huge areas, I feel like, and cultural areas. One of those areas being the Orient, the Asian continent, pretty much, is very much lacking. Earlier versions, you had character. I don't know if you guys know that one or not. It's out of print now, and the only way you can get it is like on RPG Stock Exchange, things like that. So you don't even have that. Recently, there's been an Oriental Adventures that has come out that is not great. And there are almost 0 monster manuals that include anything with like an Asian flair to it. All of that prep being said, my first project that I am presenting to you guys is Asian monsters. This is 90 plus magnificent monsters from China, Japan, India, Korea, Vietnam, Malaysia, and the Philippines for D&D 5e. And I am genuinely excited to see something like this because there are some really cool folklore and folk stories from those areas with some really very unique monsters to them. And I am excited to see something like this brought in to where if you want to like have a 5 nations war type campaign setting where you have these warring like samurai lords and you're a part of that, and all you have the political intrigue and you have, you know, fantasy monsters thrown in there, this would be a super cool and handy book to have to do that. So it is at $30,000 of its $1,000 goal because people like me are like, thank you, we need this. This is something that is missing. We've got 829 backers. You've got 17 days to go if you're also interested in this. And this was created by Legendary Games. They've created 15 other projects, so this is not the first here. And so here, let's take a look at what is included in Asian Monsters. The setup on the page and the artwork is not my favorite. I will say that first of all, but mostly what you're looking for is for the content to be there. And these names are really hard to say, but you've got essentially on this first page, you have Asian genies that are more like devils than they are genies, which is a really interesting flair for a campaign. You've got war elephants.
Yes.
Which is super, super cool.
I'm fucking putting an elephant in my game. I'm just gonna do it.
Full armored, like, look at that. It's awesome. Of course, there are dragons, but they have a very different flair in Asian tradition than they do in European tradition. So that is super fun to see included in there. You've got ghouls, basically. You've got this beautiful moth that I'm not going to try and say the name of.
It's Mothra, essentially. It's a kaiju.
Oh, it is a kaiju, yeah.
Yeah, kaiju.
Masura. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That one is very pretty and really gets my imagination going when I look at it. But these are just going to be full. You've got Rahashas, which is in D&D 5e in the bestiary, but they have their origins in Asian tradition, and so it's taking it more of that traditional route. So they just list a whole bunch of really cool monsters that are going to be in here. There's not a ton of art on here or a lot else going on. Basically, they just list, hey, we have all these monsters and all of these monsters are going to be a part of this book. So there's some... Okay, how do I want to go about this? Because this is such a fantastic idea, and I love the idea so much, and I love the cover art so much. Absolutely gorgeous, and love it, and it's creepy and everything that I want it to be. But just listing these monsters, especially if you don't have background knowledge in Asian folklore, you have no idea exactly what this is gonna be. They give you a little bit, so like Death Whale, which is cool. Restless Undead, but then you've got some that are just listed on there, and it's like, well, I don't really know what those are. I'm gonna have to Google everything on this page, right? So that's the downside to it. The upside is that what's here does look really cool. Like I said, personal preference. I don't know if I would lay it out this way. But the art does look solid and the idea is phenomenal. What do you guys think of this idea?
So there's one.
Go ahead, Joe.
Me and Alex were actually talking about this project before you logged on today, Hannah. And what I said is I kept looking at this project for the last 2 weeks, like while it was on the list. And, you know, it's the Kickstarter is called, and I mean, rightfully so, Asian monsters. Like, they're not being coy. Like, they're like, we're not even going to come up with a clever name, right? Like, Monsters of the Orient. They're just like, Asian monsters. Sure, that works, right?
Yep.
And I was like, man, is this like gonna be problematic? But at the bottom of the page, one thing that I do appreciate is they are working with cultural consultants from each of these different ethnic groups to make sure that they are portraying the monsters and the folklore and the mythologies of all of these different cultures as right as they possibly can for a RPG setting. So I do appreciate that. Like, at least they're putting in the work and the effort to make sure that they're not just like
for sure.
there's a funny there's a funny story of a board game company called Cool Mini or Not. Very, very big board game company, and most people know about who they are. They make games like Zombicide, right? Well, they had this game called Rising Sun, which was a game set in Japan. And so they had all of these monsters and your samurai clans fighting, blah, blah, blah. Well, on the stretch goals, they just kept like adding monsters and monsters and monsters. And somebody at this company did no research, right? And they just like Wikipedia'd like Asian monsters, right? And so they put up this like fire monkey demon and we're like, oh, this is our new stretch goal. And all of these people were like, what is that? Nobody's ever heard of that thing before. And apparently it was a Wikipedia entry that some guy just made up.
Because they can do that.
And they didn't read it. They didn't do anything. They're just like, oh, it's an Asian monster.
Didn't
Sure.
fact check.
And they actually made this and put it in the game. And I'm like, that's the amount of effort that company put into making sure that they were portraying the mythology of these cultures correctly. So I'm glad that these people are like, look, we are trying very hard to make sure that what we're representing is not offensive to the cultures in any way, shape, or form. We're trying to make sure that this is something that's like well done and well placed. So I'm proud of them for that.
And I really think that there's a dire need. I think looking at kind of the monsters and all of the creatures that are currently in D&D, and I think there needs to be more of an open approach to this where, you know, there are a lot of different cultures that have a lot of different folklore. This isn't just dragons, owl bears, and gnolls, right? Like, there are a lot of different stories and a lot of different cultures that could be featured in a lot of these stories. And I think it's extremely important. And if you're listening here, if you are part of one of these cultures that you think you want to see a lot more representation, go for it. I think there is a dire need for representation of more cultures in D&D, especially in terms of a lot of different folklore and a lot of different stories that I think people can also take the opportunity to get educated on. I think there's also a huge opportunity to have these stories educate a lot of people about more cultures. I think that's also a really great opportunity. So I'm glad to see something like this, and really glad to echo what Joe was saying, that they're, you know, approaching this with people of these cultures to get the proper approach and get the full story rather than Wikipediaing it.
Exactly, and just making up monsters that seem like they would be Asian.
Exactly.
The monkey, sure, why not? No, this looks like it's legit, and it's going to be really good.
So how much does it cost?
So PDF version, if you want 90 plus Asian monsters, is just $15, which is pretty stellar. Yeah. I do like that. It's pretty good. Then you jump up to $25 for the print/PDF bundle. And this does have a soft cover for $25. And I was double checking. I don't think that's a voucher to buy a soft cover. I have to check that now. But it looks like it's legitimately a soft cover for $25, which is awesome. And then if you want the other, they've done other monster bestiaries, basically. So they got like sea monsters and things like that.
They have a Cthulhu monster one, Hannah.
They got a Cthulhu monster. Love my Lovecraftian horror, you know that. But you can get these PDF bundles as well for $30 as you go down. But if you want physical copy, $25, totally, I think, worth it for 90 plus monsters if you're looking to run an Oriental campaign or something set in any kind of culture other than the one that D&D's kind of created.
Great. What are you giving on this for a roll?
This, I've kind of talked through my my conundrum with this, right? It's such a good idea, but I feel like there should definitely be more on here than what I'm actually getting, and explained a little bit better. So I'm gonna give it a base score of 12. And then I'm gonna give it a +1 for the originality. I don't think we've seen something like this in the time that we've been doing this. We have monster bestiaries, but they're not like this.
Specific
so
new
it's a
folklores,
13 total for me, and could easily be more if it was just tweaked just a little bit.
A little bit more background information, a little bit more educational value, I think, on the page would be a great adjustment. Awesome. Yep. Well, as I kind of mentioned before, I am definitely looking into becoming a DM myself. It's about time, but I'm also looking at ways that I've talked to Joe about this because he is leading our DM. He is our DM for our campaign. But I'm really going to kind of start generally with some of the pre-made adventures. I want to get more into homebrewing. And so I start to look more at some of these that are going to assist in that. So the first one I'm going to talk about today is the Oracle Story Generator and their tarot-sized cards. So it's a deck that is an event-based story generator deck with over 250 million combinations per deck for fantasy role-playing games, writers, and storytellers. So it even helps people who are writing or who are trying to tell stories. So this is a really cool thing that just kind of gets the juices flowing and comes up with maybe a random idea using this whole kind of deck. So I'm looking at a lot of ways that are going to help and potentially get the creative juices flowing. So this has been created by Nord Games. So they have 22 previously made campaigns. Bless you, Joe. Thank you for muting. No rip to the headphone users. They're doing very, very well. This has made $65,000, almost $66,000, 995 backers, and they still have 22 days to go.
They launched today.
Nice.
They launched today.
Oh, wow.
They launched today. So it's doing really, really well. But so let's take a look at this. So there are going to be 60 cards per deck. There are 5 different themes available, so you can get multiple themes, and the pledge is already just started $20. So I'll go into a little bit more of that beforehand. But there's an early bird pledge level, so if you're watching this now and this is something interesting to you, definitely take a look at that. You'll enjoy free shipping as a 48-hour early bird pledge, which is really nice. So we could take a look at this here. So actors are the main character of the story. So actions are what the characters will do. There's actions, subjects, intents, and then development. So you kind of flip all of these cards to develop the overall story. There's contracts and bounties, political intrigue, relics and artifacts, simple side quests. There are all these different ways that you can build these stories. So for example, we're looking at this card here where you have a keyword, a warlord. They have humanoid, monstrous, construct, aberration. They have all these different types of like descriptions of all these different characters that you can flip over. And for example, we have the different decks that are contracts and bounties. So you flip over a couple of these to give you a random contract or a bounty, random epic adventures, political intrigues, relics and artifacts, just ways to kind of develop a story. And one way that I thought of kind of utilizing this and maybe coming up with the story is taking a couple different decks and flipping over a bunch of them and try to fill in between each couple of different random flips. They have simple side quests. You can get a full box set that essentially has everything, which is 5 individual decks of all of them shown above. So you can get each one as an individual deck, or you can get them all together. So the overall, it's pretty simple in terms of what they are in the description. However, I think the page is a little confusing for me, and from a designer as well. I think on the graphic design of some of the cards, I think there could be a little bit more of, like, for example, we're looking at this Warlord card here, and the text is a little bit hard to read, and I think it can definitely be a little bit more legible. I think the text can be a little bit bigger in terms of that, and obviously they're tarot-sized cards, but I think having a light-colored text on a light color is definitely difficult to read, especially somebody who might have visual impairment. So taking a look at these, I think it's a great idea. But for example, they have their early bird shipping at the top of the page, and then they have live streams at the top. I would have put the how it works and describing it very first. I think that is something you need to have immediately rather than live streams. Those are pretty much towards the bottom for most of the time for most campaigns. And again, they've got 22 campaigns they've already worked on. They're doing really, really well. But if you are a first-time creator, this is something that we would generally suggest is to put shipping more towards the bottom, put live streams more towards the bottom, and get to the point, because people will only go through about 2 to 3 mouse wheel scrolls, and that's about it, generally. So yeah, what do you guys think of this? Are you guys thinking sort of the same way, that this seems very useful, but overall the page, I think the page kind of undersells it a little bit in terms of that. What do you guys think?
We've seen some things like this before. I think this might be the best one that we've seen, as far as like the actual design of it and the flow and the layout.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on how you like to come up with your stories and how much input and extra that you need in it. I think for some DMs, this would be a must-have, especially if they're homebrewing their own world and trying to figure those things out. For the ones that like to run adventures, I don't know, like the side quest stuff is good, and you will probably use it, but I mean, if you're running a pretty linear adventure, I'm not sure how useful that is. This would be very useful for homebrew DMs, though.
Exactly.
That's the caveat I would make.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, Joe, you can follow up on this part as well. I know if you are having a very tired day and you don't have the time to, maybe your party tends to veer off, or you maybe didn't plan that night, this also might be super helpful to go, side quest, flip, and go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if you're running kind of like a fly by the seat of your pants adventure, that's definitely something where something like this really can come into save the day. But I will and honestly, I know a lot of people that run campaigns like that are just literally they do almost zero prep, and they just show up day of, and they're just like, all right, let's get to it. All right. Like that.
That would stress me out so much.
Yeah, I know. I have
my
high
heart
prep.
just like started fluttering thinking about it.
I have high prep weeks, and I have low prep weeks, but I'm always at least somewhat prepped, right? I don't think my group has ever showed up in almost a year of doing this and been like, holy crap, Joe didn't prepare at all for this, you know? But I will echo what Hannah said. We've seen a couple projects that are very similar to this. This is not a new idea, but this is probably one of the best laid out versions of this concept that I've seen. I did want to make a joke, or not a joke, but I wanted to like poke fun at one thing that they're offering. And this is just in good humor and good fun. I'm not trying to make fun of Nord Games. I backed your Dangerous Destination project for a lot of money, so I really like what you guys put out there. We reviewed that one. I think it was in one of our very first episodes. They're selling as add-ons posters. So there's a $10 poster at 11 by 17 and a $15 poster at 18 by 24. And both posters, I'm like, I mean, the artwork isn't bad, but it's not like I want to hang that on my wall.
It's not like some of the ones that we've reviewed where I'm like, I want a poster. Like when they've been settings and have like this beautiful art. Yeah. This is kinda not that. I don't want this creepy lady.
I was just kind of like,
she's real creepy.
Like they say that there's 6 pieces of artwork available, but I'm just like, it's not that great. But hey, get your money if you can sell a couple of posters. Why not do it?
Yeah.
But I just thought that was like a funny add-on, because artwork is not the focus of this project, but to sell art posters, it was kind of like, to me, seemed like kind of seems just like Hey, might as well. We had the artist draw these pictures. Might as well try to sell some posters while we're at it.
Yeah.
I feel like a coin flip or something would be better suited
Yeah.
for this one.
Yeah.
It's like, can't decide what to do, flip a coin, and
There
here's
you
a
go.
cool little collector's coin. But I don't know.
So that being said, what does it cost? Right now for an early bird, you could pledge $7 and you can get one deck as a PDF. $7,
cool.
you can get a PDF of one of them: the Contracts, Bounties, Epic Adventures, Political Intrigue, Relics and Artifacts, Simple Side Quests. So you can do that for an early bird. That's 40 hours to go. Or you can do the one deck PDF, which is $20 or more. The Tarot deck of your choice, and it's the PDF version. The Oracle PDF, receive the Oracle Story Generator. That is pretty much all of them. Right there, but it's all of them as the PDF. So to get essentially the actual box set, you need to spend $70 to get all of the decks plus the PDFs.
Okay.
So $70 for the whole thing. Honestly, it's a lot of combinations, and if you look at that, I mean, that kind of mathematically makes sense if you really want all of them.
How many cards per deck does it say?
60 cards per deck.
And how many decks are there?
5. So there are 300
5.
cards.
So 300 cards for $70.
Yes.
Yeah. And normally the deck costs $20, so you're saving 30 in that bundle.
Exactly. So
Pretty good.
Overall, I think maybe look, if you're just want to do something quick, I think the PDF is good. I think if you want to, maybe, I haven't double checked this in the add-ons, maybe there's a mix and match where you could choose a couple if you don't want one or the other. That would be a good idea. And take a look at this. I mean, especially if you are someone who is fly by the seat of your pants DM, this might be super helpful. Or if you're just looking to figure out ways to get the creative juices flowing. So for a roll for this, I think, I'm kind of going, and this is something that you'll notice over time, our rolls have definitely adjusted. And this is something where, as we talked about in the beginning, the rolls are kind of a gut check. It's kind of that we take a look, we kind of decide how we like it. Sometimes it's in the moment. And I think these have adjusted, and I really like, Joe, the kind of check at 15 is the run-of-the-mill right down the center. So I think this is a solid project. I think there are definitely some layout issues that do a disservice to the page overall, and those go into our rolls. So overall, I am going to give this one a 14. Solid project. I think there could be a definite little bit more in terms of the graphic design of the cards. I think some people might find them hard to read, and I think the page could do a little bit more of a service towards the project. But I think this is a great pickup if you are looking to get started in homebrewing or just need something to help you figure out a really quick idea. So yeah, these were our first 3 projects that we're talking about. We're going to take a quick break, and we are going to hear from one of our hosts. We will be right back.
Hello, humanoids. I'm Halfling Hannah, the creator behind Halfling Hobbies. And here at Halfling Hobbies, you are going to find DM resources and only DM resources. We are here for dungeon masters, creating all sorts of things from puzzle templates and downloadable puzzles to DM binder pages, NPCs, loot cards, everything that you could possibly need to help give your game advantage. All of it comes with a healthy serving of food and drink, along with that special halfling hospitality. So grab a mug of ale and a slice of cake, sit back, relax, and dig in to Halfling Hobbies.
Hey everybody, we're back. We got cut 3 more projects real quick that we're gonna throw at you. And man, this is a unique one. This is kind of an interesting one that I'm gonna talk about here. This is the Blue Rose Adventures Guide 5e. All right. So this right now currently only has 3 days left, so time is limited if you would like to back this. Just shy of 400 backers and $24,000 raised. And this is by Green Ronin Publishing. And I gotta say, I'm a bit surprised at the numbers because Green Ronin, while not a huge force on Kickstarter, has a really big following, and they're one of the bigger forces in just like general RPG publishing outside of, like, I would say that they're very equivalent to like someone like Kobold Press, right?
Yeah.
As far as like the type of work that they do in the RPG tabletop space, but I guess maybe their audience has not translated to Kickstarter quite yet. This is their second Kickstarter project, by the way. Right now, I want to tell you a little bit about Blue Rose Adventures Guide, but really, they're kind of offering two projects here, okay? So right now, Blue Rose Adventures Guide for 5e is the world of Blue Rose being printed as a 5e campaign setting, okay? What is the Blue Rose Adventures Guide? They say it's already done, it's already finished, it's ready to be printed. 176 full color hardback book. So they give you, this is how many pages it's going to be. So I find the first little note here a little funny to me because I don't really know what it means, but a setting focused on a good nation in need of heroes. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean by that, but like, like a good nation, like I guess an evil nation,
like,
but yeah.
But I don't think those exist.
I just thought it was a funny way to phrase that. But I guess they're saying like this is a good place. This is a nice society, a good place for people to live, right? This is an elegant culture that is more similar to like the Age of Sail than it is to the Middle Ages. So it's not quite feudal. It's more of like something that's like set in like that Age of Sail time period. It has a very diverse and inclusive, cast of characters. There is complex diplomacy that's written between all of the different nations. They give you a couple things. They have 4 new ancestries. They have a new class that you can work off of, new subclasses, new feats, new backgrounds. I mean, it's a campaign setting. We've seen all of this stuff before. So what I really want to like dig down to is why would you want this campaign setting over another one? So what they call this is romantic fantasy, which is very different from high fantasy. And I actually clicked on the link and I went in and I read the whole article about what is romantic fantasy. And I actually found it very enlightening and very informative to like understand a little bit more about what they're trying to do. In high fantasy, which is something more of like what you would relate to like Tolkien, right, and Lord of the Rings, is where a group of adventurers or a person is their destiny to save the world, right? And that's how I think a lot of D&D campaigns go, is it's like you are the savior of humanity, you are the savior of the world, and the fate of this world rests on your shoulders. In romantic fantasy, it is more based upon you making your way in the world, finding your friends in the world, becoming a part of an organization that is bigger than yourself. So it's about the friends you make along the way, right? Yeah. Is more of what romantic fantasy is based on, because it's more about the relationships rather than the epicness of the quest at hand, right? So this is more, not necessarily to say less grand adventures, but adventures where you are not the only contributing factor to the outcome. You are just a person that is also taking part in your own special place within this. And I found that interesting, and I enjoyed reading it. There is the second product that they're offering, and I wanted to talk about it. So this is kind of like, hey, get one, get the other, get both, right? They also have another book that they said, hey, this book is ready to go to print too, so we would feel really bad about not offering this too. And this one's really cool too. It's called The Book of Fiends, a Malefic Bestiary for 5th edition. This is a book of demons and devils and like evil creatures and just a big book of like demons that you can put into your campaign setting. And I thought that was really cool. It definitely has a tag that says it is for a mature audience, but it has over 130 demons, devils, and other creatures of that type of, element that you might want to add. But I think it was a really, cool addition that they were like, hey, we're also going to go with this product, so we're going to offer it with this campaign as well.
When I first read that, out of the corner of my eye, because a little bit of behind the scenes, I have 2 screens running because I'm running the stream in the background, and so that's why sometimes you see me looking this way as I'm looking over the page. But I saw features the Book of Fiends, and I initially thought the Book of Friends, And I was
Yeah.
like, this demon does not look friendly. Yes, he's happy, but I don't know if he seems friendly. And so I initially
When-
was like, what is happening? We go from this romantic thing to a book of friends, and it connected to where you see the party image above features of the blue rose. So I was like, oh, they look friendly. Okay, I get it. It's like completely threw me off.
When I first saw it, I thought that that was the monster manual for this setting, and I was like, "Whoa, big shift there."
Yeah,
I,
two separate products.
I don't think that those go together. I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but
Yeah, again, you have to be really clear when you're looking at this page, which
Yep.
is, hey, that's why you come to us,
Ooh,
because we're here
romantic,
to help you
beautiful
out.
themes.
We're here to break it down for you. We're here to give you what you need, all right? But you've got Blue Rose Adventures Guide and you've got the Book of Feats, two different products. So, let's talk about the cost real quick. All right. Not even gonna talk about PDFs, but Blue Rose Adventures Guide is $40, 176 page hardcover book, $40. Okay. You want the Book of Fiends, $50. Okay. If you want both, $80. Save yourself $10. By far the best deal that you've got there. But yeah, this is just some solid products. I thought it was very interesting. I am just gonna make a caveat, right? This product I really wanted to feature it. Green Ronin Publishing is a name that I know. They're very well known in the industry.
Yep.
I will say they could have done more with this campaign page. If they have a book that is finished and ready to print,
Use the
you
art.
think there would be a little bit more to show off on the campaign page to get me excited about it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I'm not here to just, drag them through and everything like that. I really do. But here's, at the end of the day, why should you buy this product? If the idea, which is what I try to spend most of my time allocated talking about, was the idea of this romantic fantasy, if that is something that you say, that sounds really interesting, and I'd like to maybe run a campaign that's more like something like that, I would suggest this is for $40 worth picking up and adding to your collection, because it could really help you get the idea for running a story that's more like that. So if you want to run something that's more Princess Bride versus Lord of the Rings, I guess, that's probably not the best.
That's not a bad
I think
analogy.
that's a good idea. I think here's the thing that I do want to say about that. I think, and I've talked to a lot of friends who do play D&D, and sometimes it becomes, and Joe, you're really good at this, is making sure kind of all characters get their little bit of a moment. And I think if somebody is a little bit more introverted, or somebody doesn't know the best ways to kind of get into the story or find ways to kind of contribute in terms of a little bit more of that story element, I think going in this type of direction that kind of has a little bit more focus on everyone as a whole, and kind of that more Princess Bridey, there's all these little unique characters that contribute a lot more, rather than like, oh, the hero of the story does this, they have a goal, they have a destiny, this, where that has more of a tendency for someone to just kind of take it and go, and then say, I'm the hero of this team, you do, and you follow me. Which definitely does happen. And I think this is a kind of a nice way to get maybe some more introverted players to get a little bit more involved. It's a little less hack and slash, I'm the hero approach.
Yeah.
And it's going to be high quality, because you didn't read this, but any D&D player out there, Out of the Abyss, Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, the Critical Role, like Tal'Dorei campaign setting, this is the company that did it. Like, this is going to be quality. Yeah,
yes.
That's who these people are.
Like,
But
it's going to be
that's
great.
what I'm saying. I
Which is
agree
crazy.
with
This
that,
should definitely be more.
but the
page
would
doesn't
think
do it
that the
justice.
page would not.
doesn't.
The page does not deliver
Mm-mm.
what I feel the caliber of this project deserves.
It's very
and I
surprising.
think that's also reflected in the backer numbers. So
Yeah,
I agree.
probably
either way,
I have
um,
all of those that I just mentioned. I
yeah.
should say, like, I own those. They're really good. But so this is surprising, kind of weird. I don't know what's going on.
let me give it a roll.
Yes.
This is going to get a 13. Not because I think it's not because in any way I think that's a solid score.
Yeah.
But if you have 2 completed products ready to go,
Yeah.
sell them more. Sell them more. If you think about the idea of your Kickstarter page as customers walking into your store and being sold something, I don't feel sold on this page. I know, because I am somebody that pays very close attention. I know who the publisher is. I know their background. I understand what I'm getting. And I took the time to read a long article about romantic fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to do that. Sell me more product. Show me more artwork. Do more to make me say this is a product I want to buy. And I think that, Green Ronin, they know what they're doing, but they have not done a lot on Kickstarter specifically. And I think that they could take some cues from other publishers and other people that really spend a lot more time on this platform, selling to a much bigger audience, and take some of those cues from them, because I feel like there was a little bit of a missed opportunity having 2 fully ready to print products and showing as little as they did. But overall, I think that the idea is solid. I think you're going to get a really good product. And I really do think that this is a cool idea for setting something in a romantic fantasy setting versus a high fantasy setting. So a little bit different.
And I will say, I looked at that one as well before when we were picking our projects, and I did not read the long article. I read like a little bit of it and went, I don't know what this is. I'm assuming it's somebody's campaign setting from like a stream. And I went, and I'm not interested in that. And I clicked off of it. So yeah, definitely explaining what the heck that setting is, which is a unique setting and would be interesting. But yeah, maybe explain it a little bit more. My next one I'm super excited about, and I am backing this one. This one looks just so unique and fun. Caveat, by chance, have either of you played Borderlands?
Yes.
Yeah, are you a fan of that style?
I do love that style. I think it's super fun.
Okay, awesome. Have you played Outer Worlds?
I haven't, but I did just see a trailer that was announced at E3 about Outer Worlds.
Yeah, that there's going to be another one for sure.
Gonna be another one, yeah.
So my project that I'm presenting to you is like the TTRPG merging of Borderlands and Outer Worlds. And I could not be happier about it. I am so excited about this. This is also a small project. So make sure that this sounds interesting, if you're one of those people that you're like, yes, this sounds cool, please go and back it, because this is this guy's first created, Joe Martin. Just Joe out here with a really cool concept and design and a great name. Am I right?
Great name.
Yeah. He's at $8,000 out of his 1,600 goals.
Joe.
So this is good to go. Good job, Joe. We are backing you, and it's going to happen. 100 backers, 29 days to go. This is a longer one, so you've got time to go on there. But this is called Lawman. And this is a sci-fi Western tabletop RPG that he thought would be a good thing to actually print. I love this throughout this. It's just marvelous. So just the feel of this and all of the graphics and everything in this is totally Borderlands. Like, it's sarcastic. It breaks the fourth wall. Like, it's just like funny. It does not take itself too seriously. So here's the overview for you as you kind of look through this stuff here. So you are bounty hunters, but not like legit bounty hunters, because here's what's happened. So basically it says that society built itself up, right, to this amazing status where everything was pretty much perfect. And then it turns out that when you get to that point, society always just goes back down into like a dark age. So you're basically in this space dark age kind of thing where everything is corrupt. You've got this police system that isn't working because they have all this internal corruption. And then you've got tons and tons of criminals that's making it basically impossible for the common and everyday person to make a living. So the corporate overlords have your back. And what they've done is they've created this really awesome, well-funded marketing campaign that is basically become a lawman.
Oh boy.
So they, yeah.
Because that's
So
what you want
they,
corporations to do.
they make bounty hunters, right? So you have this corporate project where it's basically like you go through training to become a bounty hunter, and they provide you with a ship once you go through this training, and they get a bunch of people together as a crew, and they say, go hunt down the bad guys, use any force necessary, here's a badge, if anybody asks any questions, here's your lawman badge. And this is how they're going to fix the rampant crime throughout the galaxy, is that they're just going to create a whole bunch of lawmen, which is your party. So you get to fly through space with this big list of baddies that you need to go and hunt down, all while not destroying the corporate ship, because that would be really bad, and then you would owe them a lot of money, and trying not to get too much on their bad side. And that is the overall concept and structure of the game. This could be 5e compatible, but it is its own game structure that is very, very simple. So it's just a d20 system. There is no any other dice, damage dice, anything like that. And basically, you're using your description of your abilities and what you can do to affect the DC that the GM is going to set. So the GM sets how difficult the task is, and you say, well, I think I would be good at this because I have this sharpshooter ability or whatever, and that can help. That's basically like your bonuses kind of a thing, where you describe what you're doing. And so it is very quick to pick up. The character sheet is very streamlined and more based on getting into the actual story than it is creating this epic, super detailed character. Because in the end, you're a lawman. Your motivation is to go and collect bounties, and that's the whole story. And so it's this fun, short, to the point. You can make this into a one-shot. You can do a full campaign in it if you want. I feel like it's 5e compatible, and you can figure out a way to bring that in if you want to bring in something that you're already comfortable with. Or if you want to just do a new system, this is a really easy one to pick up and learn.
This is so fun.
It's so fun.
Really quick, one of the best parts that I really like about Roll for Review is that we have the opportunity live. Joe is in the comments here. Joe, welcome. We're super happy to be talking about your project right now. Anyone else who is in the comments, take a look at this project here. You have the opportunity to live ask questions to the creator if you have any. And this is what I really like about it, about our channel, about what we do here, is we bring up all these projects, we talk about them, but then provide the opportunity for the creators to hop in, talk to some people in the chat if they would like, answer some questions, and kind of hype themselves up too. But this is super, super fun. I think I love the humor approach to it. I was reading through the initial description, and there, as you're saying, I love the little unique touches of humor. So, for example, if selected, you will be given excellent award-winning minutes of training. I think this is super fun.
I love everything about it.
Yeah, or one of the locations was Hellhole 4.
Yes.
And then Joe asked a question, or saying he would love to figure out how to make a 5e conversion for this down the line. So that would be great. Definitely. Yeah. So that's super, super cool. Hello. So I think this is a lot of fun. Definitely something that I know a lot of people who are interested in getting to D&D would love, kind of this sort of storyline to help them get into it, who do love Borderlands, who do love that sort of funny. And I think that's a great way to also kind of broach the subject or the idea of TTRPGs, of people who might be a little intimidated. Make something that's a little bit simpler with just a D20, but also has humor, so they're not dragged down by maybe a more dramatic story. I think humor also has a large stance to get people into the hobby. In for some people who just might feel a little intimidated. So I'm a big fan.
Yep. Joe, I do have a question, if you wouldn't mind answering, because a big part of this is the marketing campaign. Are you going to include any marketing materials that we can give to our players before the game or anything like that? I'm curious about that.
Like
well,
like a
we can-
poster, or like
Yeah, like
propaganda.
like a poster, or even if you do like a YouTube, like could you imagine an ad? Like a
Welcome.
YouTube ad? Yeah, it would be so
Join us
fun.
as a lawman. You're gonna be a bounty hunter for the Serious Corporation.
You have your voice actor right here. There you go.
Serious Hyper Corporation
I just
prides
feel like
itself
it would be
being one of the
super
top 25 startups to work for in the civilized systems.
I love it. Joe, what do you think of this while we're waiting for him to answer?
I know nothing about any of the source materials that you guys have been like enamored with.
Yeah.
I will say I think the
Worried
artwork
about that.
is fantastic. I really like a unique art style to a product like this, and I
Mhm.
think it looks like a lot of fun. Like this is something I would love to play as like a one shot with you guys at some point, but it's not
That's why I
something
backed it.
where it's not something that like catches my attention because
Mhm.
it's not a world in which I'm used to or play in or like
Mm-hmm.
find like super desirable, but
For
it's
sure.
just not my wheelhouse, which is why I did not gravitate towards it or pick it, and you did. So I'm glad that you were able to review it and give it the attention and the gravitas that it deserves, right? Because I
Yeah.
would be very lost trying to talk about this product and what it
Yeah,
represents.
I am the target audience for this product 100%. Like I looked at this before I even read what their source material was. I was like, is this Borderlands for D&D? For D&D, because I am 100% in for this. This would be amazing. So yeah, I'm in love with this. I backed it. We're gonna play it as a one shot, and you're gonna fall
Yes.
in love with it, Joe. I promise you. You're gonna love this.
I'm gonna do the
It's
voice.
gonna be super fun.
I'm gonna do that voice.
Please do the voice
Oh.
like the whole time.
Yes,
All right,
whole time.
Hannah.
That's gonna be my character.
Hannah,
Yes.
tell us about the price. Tell us about the review.
Price is very good. You've got the PDF for $15. Anything under 20 for a PDF that right now it's currently at 128 pages is
Oh,
what
wow.
they talked about in the comments. Yeah, this is hefty boy. And it's going to obviously
the cover,
probably
too.
be more by the time we get to it. So you've got $15 for that amount of information. I think is great. It does jump up quite a bit, and we talked about this before. Having your levels kind of be like no-brainers is a really great way to get more and more people like converted to those higher levels. So you go from 15 for a PDF to 40 for the hardcover, which is not a bad price, but it feels like a really big jump when you do that. Not having a soft cover option or anything like that kind of like massages you into that.
I think there's a psychological component. Yeah, there's definitely a psychological component. And Joe, you're here listening right now, and I think that's something we also talk about on the channel is how people, each campaign is a little bit of a learning experience, and there's definitely a psychological component to setting up some of your pledge levels. And I think Hannah does touch on that very well, is that going from a 15 to a 40, even from just a numeric value, might make it a little hard to swallow for some people. And having a soft
more than
cover,
double.
Yeah, more than double. Having
Yeah.
a soft cover in there might give you a little bit of a gap if you're able to. I know you're saying you're a one-man show, kicking butt over there, but if you're able to maybe
Totally get it.
could have added a soft cover, that might have been a little bit easier in between.
As
but
somebody that does the manufacturing side of things, though, I'm also going to say offering an additional product is
another
adding
SKU.
another SKU.
Absolutely.
So I can see that, but
Totally
trying
get
to
that.
find a way that maybe you make even just making the PDF a little bit more expensive, which isn't always the right answer, but I'm just saying, but
There's no
like
perfect
sometimes
answer.
psychologically that jump,
No.
but
Yep. And hopefully this does amazing, and you have many more projects to come, and that kind of starts to work itself out when you get a bigger team and you have a little more to work with other
Love the
than your
cover.
first one. But this is cover's great. This is a phenomenal first time like Kickstarter. Honestly,
great job.
it's really good. You did a really good job, and I would recommend. I always recommend hardcover. I love books, but $15 for the PDF is a great value, and it really depends on what you prefer.
I did like
I'm going 40.
I did like the $100 like get everything, because
Oh, you
one thing
did?
that
Wow.
one thing about that one that I did like was it included the shipping, which is nice. That like
Mhm.
I love a project that I can back on Kickstarter and it's done. It's over. It'll show up at my house eventually, and I don't need to do anything else because I back so many Kickstarters. It's kind of a part-time job keeping up with all of the pledge managers. It really is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You need a
You need to
spreadsheet.
fill out your survey. It's
Yeah.
like, oh.
You should get a
Yeah.
spreadsheet going.
All right, so my role on this one, I absolutely adore this. It is super creative and fun, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it is just an excellent product, and I'm giving this a 16.
Nice.
There are things that could be improved on, but that will happen as you create more of these. You'll know what to include, like maybe a little less text, a little more pictures, things of that nature. But other than that, this is a great first time. 16 for me.
Speaking of projects that don't take themselves too seriously,
Oh,
sorry, that was
perfect
too
segue.
perfect of a segue.
that was perfect. What you got?
I don't know
Whose
why.
is it?
I
Is it mine?
No, it's
Is it
mine.
you?
I was
Oh,
like, okay. So that, and then to bounce off of what you just said with the actual segue, a little bit. So I'm going to be turning 30 this year, which is a big.
Hey, me too.
jump. Hey, this is a big
So
year.
weird for me to be the old man at 31, though. Like,
Dad.
you guys treat me like I'm so much older than you, but I'm
Don't play
literally
video games, bro.
I'm literally 1 year older.
That's very fair. But that being
You also
said,
have a child.
I find that is true. I've been feeling, and as a lot of millennials will attest to, just generally feeling nostalgic. And when I saw this, I had to take a look at it. This is the deck of nostalgic things. 50 radical items compatible with D&D 5e. I saw this. First of all, the box itself is incredible. I love it. But it's
Yeah.
exactly what you would expect. The deck of nostalgic things
Neon.
is 50 fun items compatible with D&D 5e. They're items inspired by the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. But they kind of tweak them to fit the fantasy theme. So essentially, they've taken like 90s and 80s, 90s, and 2000s like pop culture things and turned them into items. Simple as that. And honestly,
Love it.
so fun. There are definitely a lot of different ones here. One of my big gripes with the page, though, is that they don't just have a big kind of list of them. It's a little bit rough there because I would love to show off more of the art directly. But they don't really have them here. You kind of have to zoom in on here. So forgive me as I lean in, but we have the Pet Rock over here, the Book of Goosebumping, for example.
Yes.
Hair clips of the butterfly. We have in the picture here the Lamp of Lava. All of these fun little items that are kind of based on all these, and they are super fun. I think this is really great, and like I said, I'm looking definitely at kind of ways to just add a little bit of humor, a little bit of fun. Joe just noticed something.
Oh,
What'd you notice?
you know who did the art for this?
Who? Oh,
Who did the
show
art
and
for
tell.
this, Joe?
Who did the art?
The same guy that did the Stick a Hero.
Oh!
Yeah, that guy.
It's his name's Bodhi. I just saw that, and it like I just did an
Cool.
unboxing for that
like
and
Bodhi.
You did.
I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like we talked about that campaign, and it just was like, oh, I love doing this. Like you start to see like how
Yeah.
connected the industry is. So
But
That's cool.
this is created by BJ Hypes.
Cool art.
Great name, Hypes.
Perfect name for this.
And they've made $5,000, made $5,000, 168 backers of their $2,900 goal. It's got 15 days to go, and this is just
Nice.
a fun little addition.
I
think-
want the box.
I love the
really
box.
want the box.
I love the art. I think it's great. I think this is just
Yeah,
super,
Bodhi.
super fun. And like, for example, if you have like maybe a Stranger Things style homebrew campaign, maybe you have some of these items make their way in. Maybe they've been, maybe you have like magic that has eked into modern or like the early 90s or like the 2000s, and all of these items have become magical. There's a homebrew idea for you. And you have to find why there's magic leaking into the world. I think this is super, super fun. It's super simple. One, like I said, my big gripe would be maybe a list of them showing off more of the art in big fun fashions.
Bracelet of slapping.
It is time.
These are so fun.
It is time for a Joe rant.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna bring
A
this
jant.
up. I was gonna
Jant, if you will.
bring this up with the Asian monsters, but I think that this is a worse offender. In this campaign page, you are showing off 4 cards side by side.
Yes.
Just show the card as big as the page allows. 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Because people will gravitate. Like, I get that you're like, oh, you're seeing more, but like, this is what your product is. Show it much bigger. Show me one card, and I
Because
can,
we can't
and I
read
can
them.
read it. I can
can't
look
read
at
any of
all the
these.
text. I can look at the picture. I can read. I have a huge monitor right here that I'm looking
They
at
are
the page
very
at.
small.
Full page. I
Yeah.
could not read this if I wanted to, right? I can read the title a little bit, but I have to get like real close to the screen. But the undertext, no way. If
No.
you have 8 of these cards ready to show off, or 10 or 12,
Make 'em
just
big.
put
I would
boom,
love
boom,
to see
boom,
them huge.
boom.
We
Yep.
need them
Yep.
bigger. I definitely
And I was
agree.
gonna say the same thing with the monsters, because
And
they
it's
had
not
this,
too much.
they had this little image
Yeah.
with like a monster here and a monster here showing the page spread. Just show the one page as big as the Kickstarter will allow you to put it, to let us look at the art, read what the page looks like. Just come on, creators.
It's
like
not.
that-
Make
It's
it
not
bigger.
too much. People worry about their. Well, if we make them big and then you're just scrolling through images, that's too
fine.
much.
With these,
No,
that's
it's
fine.
not.
That's your product.
Yes, we want that. Trust me.
so sorry, that was a joke.
No, that's a good jant.
So I
Appreciate
would
that.
definitely agree, but I think overall this is a super fun project, and I think super unique, super fun. But let's talk about the price here. You can get the printable, the digital download for $7. Done. 50
that's great.
items, easy. $7, you got them. The physical deck, $28 for 50 cards.
That's not bad.
Physical deck, that's it. 50 cards, done. $28.
Do I get the box?
Uh,
Do I get the box? Is that like a
Uh,
special
nostalgia.
box?
No. You get the box. Like, it comes in a box.
Oh yeah, totally worth it then. I just love the box.
Oh, international shipping. There we go. I was wondering what the second one was. International shipping in big letters. U.S. shipping, international shipping. Duh, that's what happens when you read. So,
Magic.
overall, $28 for 50 cards that are super unique, super fun. I think this is a great project. I think this is super fun. Overall, great. What would you find yourselves using these ever if you wanted to do maybe a fun little unique project or little homebrew? I feel like it's not your
No.
style, Joe.
No, it's not
No.
my style, but I like
Hannah.
the product. I like the artwork. I like the idea. I think it's silly fun. I'm not the person that would want this, but I know that there are people that would love to have this as a product.
Yeah, I want it. I don't know what I would use it for, but I want it. So there's that. Just to go through and look at all the nostalgia.
So I have to give this
I like
a
it.
roll here. I'm going to give this a 16. I think it's a
good.
solid project, but I think I have to give it a -1 for not showing the big, bold imagery on the page. That's my gut is like, I want to see more. Why are you depriving me of the beautiful, cool art and making me feel the nostalgia and the funniness behind your names? You're kind of doing yourself a disservice there. So 16 -1 is going to be it's going to be that 15 adding up there. So I think solid project, great job. Definitely something that I would be interested in getting for myself. We are going to take another quick break. We have 3 more projects to go tonight, and we are going to be hearing, and you'll be hearing about a project that is near and dear to our hearts. We'll be right back.
The Wanderer's Guide is a 50-page compendium designed to enhance your fantasy RPG campaigns. Immersive, beautiful maps and artwork by Andrew Bosley. Dry erase pages for quick editing and changes as your campaign evolves. An abundance of tokens to add more character, landmarks, features, and customization to your campaign. an interactive NPC system for adding lots of variety and plot hooks for the Game Master to engage the players. Artwork featuring fun details and story elements to enhance collaborative storytelling, world building, and spark the imagination of the players and the Game Master. The Wanderer's Guide. Your world, your adventure.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Roll for Review. We've got 3 more projects that we're going to look at, and we're going to call it a night. But I think I'm going to be looking at the biggest project of the entire of the night.
Oh, yeah.
So this is 2,200 backers, currently $175,000 raised, and that is Worlds of WebDM Weird Wastelands, a supplement for 5e D&D that gives you everything you need to play great games in places adversely affected by magical forces. So who is making this? This is being made by WebDM. What you're like, WebDM, I know that name. They are a very popular DM YouTube channel. Very, very popular.
They're the ones that always tell me that if I have a cough, I am like seriously ill.
No.
Your campaign has cancer. 5 different kinds.
Different. Different website there, Alex. But no, WebDM. I know Hannah is probably intimately familiar with them, as she is a DM resource YouTube creator as well. So we like
Weird way to phrase it, Joe. But
people,
yes, I know them.
People know who they are. They are also partnered with 2CG Gaming, who have done a lot of projects as well. So there is kind of like a force behind this that is really promoting this project, which definitely lends towards its success. But also, it's a very well put together product. There are lots of great images and really kind of detailed what you're really getting. But the basic idea here is what happens when weaponized magic overwhelms a region, when the gods abandon a planet, when an evil sun burns with the octrine glow of oblivion. That is what this is about. This is about running fantasy post-apocalyptic campaigns.
Yes.
This is a very specific thing that
Like
you might want to do.
But yeah, I'm in.
It's very interesting.
This is awesome.
There's just so much good stuff here. So there's a brand new class, the Scion. There are new subclasses that are all based around a post-apocalyptic environment. So you have scavengers, you have all of these techno wizards, stuff like that. You have new mechanics for exploration and scavenging and all of that type of things. You have 10 unique locations, which is really what this is about, that are all primed for adventure. It's really cool. You have monsters that are all a part of this wasteland culture and ecology. You have adventure hooks, you have tools, you have spells, you have factions. Basically, if you want to run fantasy Mad Max, right? If you want to run this is what you're doing. And in fact, I think a lot of the artwork is really reminiscent of that. I mean, you kind of have right here this goblin creature that's really like doing the bard from Fury Road kind of deal. It's a
Witness
little
me,
on
Frodo.
the nose. Yeah. It's a little on the nose, but it's fun. It's really exciting. I think it's great. You can see they have the table of contents broken down, so you can really see what you're going to get. You've got about a 200 and some odd page book that you're going to get. But really beyond that, you kind of see all of the things that you're going to get. And most of all, like, I think that this is something that's like, hey, if you're sold in the first 30 seconds, right? Like, you don't have to, the trailer will force you to buy the ticket for the movie, right? If you watch this trailer, you're gonna buy the ticket, you know. But there are some things like I think what we see on the page, we could get a little bit more. Show me a little bit more of this artwork. Show me some of
Yeah.
these locations.
Very pretty.
Tell me a little bit more about that. But I'm not really even going to dig that deep into it, because one of the things that I am a little blown away by is the pricing structure. $25 PDF. And then if you want the print and the PDF, it's $55.
Okay.
But then you have a jump to $350. So I asked myself,
There's $100.
there's $100, but it's basically the thing with a special cover.
Yeah.
It's the book with the special cover. That's all that is.
Hmm.
So the real jump is this. I asked myself, what am I getting for $350? Well, I'll take a look. We're getting a box. Love a good boxed edition, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know how much a box costs. There is the book and the campaign guide. Like there's like a soft cover booklet for kind of like helping you write your campaign notes. There's a custom flask, which
Yeah.
I didn't know people were asking for, but fine. There is a bag for dice. There's a deck of cards. There's a GM screen, and there's some nice dice. These dice must be really nice, because if you want to add the dice on, it's $100.
Woo.
So some really pricey dice that you're going to get there.
Gemstone dice.
Made from Level Up Dice. I gotta be honest with you guys. $350 does not sound. Look, I know some
They're
people.
cracked stone dice. I don't know if
Yeah,
that changes your opinion.
I feel like, knowing from a manufacturing standpoint and running a campaign ourselves, I don't know.
I feel like
if
we
that
offered
equals
more
three-
than this for 100. I feel like we offered a lot more than this for $150 than they're offering for $350. But people
Oh,
are, I mean,
35 backers.
35 backers. I mean, that's
I don't
great. I mean, good for them. I'm not trying to take anything away from them,
that
and I'm
seems
not trying to
expensive.
like take a giant mess on their campaign. I just say $350 is a lot of money,
That's a
right?
lot.
Like it's a lot of money, but I just don't see
I mean,
$350 there.
Here's the thing: we covered Heliana's guide last week,
Yeah,
or last episode. That's $250 for almost double what you're getting in this.
way more stuff.
Way more
like
stuff.
way more stuff. But again, I'm not like, hey,
It
they
just is what it
charged
is.
what they did. They have people backing it. It's fine. I personally think that this tier for $150 feels a lot more right, but I mean, they're charging just $100 for these dice, so I don't really have much of a thing to throw there. I personally just make some cheaper dice that are still really nice, but cost like a fraction of that, I guess.
Yep.
And you might be able to have a $150 box set, but that's just me. But let's
What would you give
take
this
the
a roll?
pricing thing aside. Let's set this pricing tier aside. What do you guys think about this weird Wastelands product?
I love it.
I like the idea a lot.
Yeah, I'm in for the content.
I
Yeah.
literally started laughing. I honestly just started, like, I took the Fellowship, and then I put
Right.
them all like as if they cosplayed Mad Max, and it's made this hilarious scenario in my head, and now all I want to see is just this Mad Max version of Lord of the Rings, and
That's hilarious.
it's oh my god. So if this is like a
I-
combination, it sounds so fun.
I love that this could be a campaign. Like the idea that the world that you're in is like this apocalyptic world where these different sections are all different types of like whatever, or just add it into your campaign as like a wasteland or something that something has happened. I'm thinking like Matt Mercer's their campaign 2, they have an area like that called, and it's from the Calamity. Like that's what this feels like. If you want to have something like that in your campaign, then you can have this whole section that people don't go to because of all of the weird, strange things that have happened, the magic that has transformed the people and the animals and stuff in this area. Like, I think that's dope. But that's me.
So, Joe, there in our story, Joe is kind of having us. We're in search of these kind of elemental keys that have the potential to essentially destroy the world.
Ooh.
Potentially.
Boom. This is what they
You could
do.
have us. You could. No matter what we do, we lose, and the next part of our story is trying to reform the world, and it's essentially like a magic wasteland apocalypse. Because
That's cool.
no matter what we would have done, we're gonna we think we're gonna win, but nope. Your plan is always that it goes into an apocalypse scenario.
I mean, yeah, it definitely has like this ability, right?
Yeah.
This like thing that could very, very easily happen. I think that this is a cool product. I think that this is a very interesting, unique take on like what you can do with the setting and what you can think about as a fantasy campaign does, right? This is very different, but still is going to play with all of the same toys that you're used to playing with, just in a very different, unique way.
Yep.
Like the idea, like the concept, not in love with the $350.
Well, you don't have to get it. Come
No,
on.
no, you don't have to. But
It's
like,
fine.
I manufacture for a living, so like those,
Yeah.
like, I
Those
get
numbers
red
don't
flags,
really make
other
sense.
people might not, right? So
It's true.
it's fine. It's fine. I just have to think about it with my own brain for a second, right? And I just, I don't know, the maybe the flask, right, is like
Flask
super
is
expensive.
$75.
Flask is worth it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, this is cool. This is a fun product. This is going to get a 17 from me. I think it's really cool. I think it's really fun. I would love, guys, if you put more pictures of these different, you said there are 10
Always.
different locations. I want to see more pictures of these wastelands. Like that would really get me, like that would get my motor going a lot for like what this product was capable of doing. But I think right now, I think the artwork is a little bit lacking for like what's really selling me on the page.
Yeah.
So this is still going to get a 17 because I think it is probably a very big highlight into something that's very different, but still very cool that you might want to check out. So please do check out your campaign or Kickstarter if you're interested in this product, and that is Weird Wastelands with a 17 from me.
Nice. All right. My next one is a much smaller project than the Lawman that I talked about before. It's called Den of Assassins 5e. This is a supplement for deadly subclasses and unforgettable NPCs to unleash in your 5e campaign. So one thing that a lot of people struggle with, my players struggle with when they're trying to create the exact character that they want, is sometimes finding subclasses that fit with what they're thinking, especially when they want to go rogue assassin and there's only like one subclass for that, for the assassin. It's kind of lame, honestly. And you end up homebrewing a lot of stuff to go along with that. Well, this has kind of solved that problem in that they've created this supplement with a whole bunch of just assassin subclasses and features and abilities, which is very specific, but very much needed. And I think they did a really good job with it. So they are at $10,000 of their $1,000 goal. So they are good to go. 500 backers, still got 21 days, plenty of time to go in and take a look at this. Bite-sized gaming grabbed my attention because I don't think that we've reviewed them, but I'm pretty sure we've seen their stuff. I think I've looked at them a couple of different times and they just barely didn't get on my list. But they've got 6 other things that they've created. They're not new to Kickstarter. And this supplement is, again, what we've talked about a little bit here already, is that it's not enough. And I feel like it's that song from The Showman where it's like, never enough, right? Never. We constantly want more from our creators. But the overview is pretty much exactly what I just told you. This is about assassins, and this is subclasses and everything for assassins. So you have 12 new subclasses. It doesn't really list out what those are, which I was like, I kind of wanted a list of at least the names of them, but they even have ways like this isn't just for the rogue class, which I found very intriguing. This also includes barbarian classes, druid classes. So like the idea that a druid would shapeshift into like poisonous snakes and spiders and like what that would be like,
I
or
like
a
that.
barbarian who doesn't care about being stealthy. They just like rush in and kill who they're supposed to kill and like fight their way out, like things like that. It's really a cool concept for these subclasses to not be reserved for rogues. Because I honestly, that's what I thought going into this. I don't know what you guys thought. I was like, oh, cool, 12 subclasses for rogues. No, these are just subclasses that any of the different classes can take, which is pretty cool. 12 elite antagonists. So these are assassin subclasses. They've created a series of like mastermind level cutthroats that you can include in your campaigns as these big assassination leagues or whatever. You've got 12 minions, so a whole bunch of thugs, of different kinds of thugs for these assassination guilds. You have magic items specifically to help you assassinate people, and lots of other enhancements and locations, backgrounds, and feats specifically for assassins. So you've got a whole bunch of information here that would be very, very useful for players and DMs, which I do very much appreciate. This isn't just a book specializing in assassin NPCs or just specializing in assassins for players. Like it really blends the both of them together and makes this a very super useful supplement, in my opinion. And that's really all I have to discuss about it.
I think I like the idea a lot, and I think it's very smart to include a little bit more subclasses, especially for rogues and assassins, as kind of you mentioned. The big gripe, and I think we've talked about this, is I think potentially if you don't have art or descriptions for the subclasses, for minions, for magic items, and you just have them listed in text, I think you do yourself a disservice for your campaign. I think you need more there to hook people, to make people essentially you need to go, look, we have this. We're not just saying that we're going to have this. It's really missing that for me.
And here,
there's a free sample, which is nice.
I'm going to echo what Alex just said. And I'm going to compare this to a different project. And again, I understand budgets are what they are and are constrained by what they're constrained by. So we took a look at a project called Ouroboros, Coil of the Serpent by Warchief Gaming that raised a buttload of money, right? And we remember that there was another setting where there were like lots of subclasses, lots of new races, lots of new this, but they had this like beautiful image with just kind of like, here's what the races are, here's an artist rendering of what these subclasses are, and we as just fans, right, spent so much time in the show drooling over them.
They were cool.
Like literally like salivating over how great that looked. And that I think is kind of one of those missing components, is when you can take a look at a page like this and you can say like, hey, we've created all of these subclasses, show me the subclass, right? Like show me something that represents this visually, because
the items,
people,
the minions, any of that.
I mean, you eat with your eyes, right? You also buy with your eyes. So I think that's kind of been like a recurring echo through tonight's episode, is like, man, like show off as much as you can. I mean, that was like when we launched the Wanderer's Guide, it was one of those things where like, and we've learned a lot of lessons, and the Wanderer's Guide was not like the most successful campaign ever, but we had to like pull back on how much we were using the artwork, because we wanted to show it off as much. We wanted to lead with art, right? And I think that's really important, is that people should really lead with the art.
And I will say that there is some of this that's in the sample, but don't rely on people to click on the sample.
No, you don't want them to click off.
They're not going to most of the time. The only time that people are going to actually click on the sample is if they're already sold and going to buy this. They just want to double check it.
if you think of the Kickstarter as a store, right?
Mhm.
The store, like if you walk into the store and you look around and you don't really see what you're looking for, and you're like, oh, I guess I don't really know if this is what I'm looking for, and then you walk out and you're like, hey, they didn't really have the thing I wanted, and then the owner gets on there and it's like, but did you look upstairs? Like, dude, I didn't even know there was an upstairs. Like, there was no sign. I didn't see the stairs. I didn't know if I was allowed to go up there. I have no idea. You can't rely on tucking that information in a separate place. Take that information and put it on your Kickstarter page.
Yep. Which, Alex, can you go ahead and click on the sample, because
So I
there's
did
one
pull
thing
it
that I
out.
want to.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one thing I want to touch on. The barbarian subclass is called the Path of Splatter. And I don't know how I feel about that, because this feels like it should be like a really serious like supplement, you know what I mean? For assassins, it's 5e.
But this is like
and this feels
huge,
cartoonish.
It's a little
Yeah.
It's less sneaky. It's more just like literal aggression.
Yeah. And one of the things is the 2-weapon fighting. You engage in 2-weapon fighting, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of the second attack. Why? And that feels a little overpowered, personally, just looking at it. They already get 2 attacks, and now you're adding your modifier to both of them. But so
yeah,
or-
I think overall, and I'm you feel free to read through the attached document on the page, but going back to that, you do not, from an interface, from an experience standpoint, want someone to leave your shop.
Yeah.
You do not want them to click away. You want to keep them on your shop and have them be right next to the buy button at all times.
Yeah.
So the last thing you want to do is have them jump off. People have the attached PDFs, great, but if you can include that on the page, include it on the page.
Yep. So, next thing on here, I like the idea of the supplement. I think that it's needed. I don't think I would have led with that barbarian one because it's a cool idea that you have it. And I get why you want to put that out there. It's like, hey, a barbarian can be an assassin. Great, but that's not usually what people are wanting or expecting. Give the classics. Give like a really cool new subclass for a rogue, and then also include in that there's for those other classes. I personally thought the druid one was a super cool idea, and I would have rather or like preferred for that maybe that druid one to be on there. It should still be sneaky. This just feels like an OP barbarian.
Price and roll.
Roll. This is actually kind of cool because they break it down in their PDF, so you can get just the subclass PDF for $6, which I haven't really seen before. So if you don't want the DM stuff that it talked about, like all the head people and thugs and whatever, you can just get the subclasses here as a player, which I thought was pretty cool. The Den of Assassins and subclasses, this is going to be like the full PDF basically, is $10. Then you have an at-cost code for drive-through for a soft cover. We've talked about this before. This is not the soft cover, but they do a much better job of like showing that it's not the soft cover. Like, this is an at-cost code for when it comes out on drive-through RPG. You can get that for $19 plus the cost of the soft cover and shipping. Yep. So you need to be aware of that. And then past that, just keeps going up. They do have a one-shot that you can get at $50. So a seat at a one-shot, sorry. So they're doing a one-shot and you can like be a part of it, is what it feels like.
Yeah.
So there's that. So my role for this, obviously for the things that we talked about, is going to be a little bit lower. I do still like the concept. I want to make that very clear. Like, I do like this concept, which is why I chose to review it, but this is going to get a 12 in my book. This is just a little too much of missing the mark. Great concept, great ideas. Barbarian, I think, is a miss unless you get some serious tweaking in there. There's not enough pictures on here. There's not enough on the actual Kickstarter page. You rely too much on your sample and not enough of just providing us what we're looking for. So we're at a 12, still above average. I think it's decent, especially if you're just looking for the subclasses. $6, it's worth the gamble
Hey,
for sure.
that's gonna pass your saving throw. So
Oh yeah. Yep.
Alrighty. So last project of the night, as usual, your resident dice goblin is here to show off.
this has become my favorite part of.
I know.
the
I
episode.
love seeing what he comes up with. I love it.
All right. So tonight, may I present the Witches and
Entertaining.
Wizards Sharp Edge Dice for RPG games. These are super cool. I love these. I honestly have been starting to really like Sharp Edge Dice. I just think that edge adds a really nice,
question.
clean look. Yes.
So are dice that do not say they're sharp edge dice, are they not sharp edge dice? I don't know the difference.
I don't believe so. I think
Okay.
it's kind of like
So it's like a special thing?
rectangle is a square kind of thing. They're all dice, but you
They all have an
specifically say
edge.
it's sharp. They all have an edge, but not every single one is sharp edged, I suppose.
Gotcha. Okay.
This is made by Witches and Wizards Dice, their first campaign. But they've raised $68,000, over 1,000 backers, and only has 9 days to go. But these are beautiful, and honestly, they have like these inside clouds that really got my attention.
This is how every dice campaign should be set up. Do you remember
Yes.
when we complained about the Witcher dice, where I was like,
Where are
I-
they?
Everything at the
I'm
bottom.
like, where am I? Like, you gotta show me all the dice up front. That's how dice Kickstarters work.
So this is what we do as usual. Go through. We're gonna say which ones we like the most.
I already have mine.
I
It's
haven't gone through them all yet. Hold on.
so it has been a lot
Oh.
since the moment I laid eyes on them.
Okay, you go first then.
Go ahead.
I just got through them.
Neptune's Treasure.
Yeah, those are cool.
I do like
Hard
Neptune's
win.
Treasure.
Neptune's Treasure is by far my favorite. I love the glittery, semi-transparent, semi-opaque, turquoisey aquamarine with the
Yeah.
gold inking. It's a very, very classy combination. I really like those.
Similar to ones
They-
that we have.
You know what they
as,
remind me of?
the ones
They
that we have
remind
in
me-
Launch Guide.
They remind me of the Disney Princess Jasmine.
Oh, they
Oh,
do.
Like if
Uh,
this
Adorable.
if these were Disney Princess dice, this would be Jasmine.
Oh my
Yep.
God, that's a.
That's a concept. You should do
Anthony,
that.
Don't put that out into the.
Too late. Disney Princess
We
Dice.
got a new Kickstarter. We got to run.
We got a new Kickstarter.
Before Disney
Uh,
finds out.
My favorite, I love Magma Storm. I think
Ah,
those
that was
are
gonna be
so cool.
mine.
They're directly below. So you like Magma Storm too?
Yep.
I think
Yeah, but I'll pick my
love the
second favorite.
darkness, and I love just like it's got that
Yep.
same glittery, but it's like the good versus evil on either side of the coin of like Neptune's
Yes.
Treasure versus Magma Storm. And I love these. I
Reminds
think
me
these
of
are super
Mordor.
cool. It does. It looks like
Yeah.
a Mordor inspired dice.
I love it.
What are your
Well,
second favorite then?
These would be
That
the
was my first
Jafar
favorite.
dice.
The Jafar.
Ooh.
Stop putting that in
Jafar
the
dice!
ether.
They are. My second favorite was Poison Cloud.
I think that one's really, really cool too.
I really
love
like
the
Poison Cloud.
clouds. They're
The
just
clouds
so
are cool.
But
Nebula.
always ending on our dice campaign, the Resident Dice Goblin. But the price for these, full set, $22.
Great.
That is so
Great price.
low cost.
And they put it right on there so you can see it, which I love.
I'm literally gonna say it. We looked at one of the most beautiful dice Kickstarters we've ever seen with the it was the
Wormwood?
one
I
that
like
Adam
Wormwood.
reviewed 2 episodes ago.
yeah.
What were they called? It was the Wormwood. It was Wormwood
Was
dice.
that
That's what I
Wormwood?
just
Yeah, she was
said.
saying the Wormwood.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wormwood.
Wormwood dice. Yes.
Yes, gorgeous. They're my favorite.
So great. But dollar per dollar, I think your money is better spent on this campaign because those were costing $60 to $85 a
Yes.
set. And you're getting pretty much very similar products here with really
way
cool
cheaper.
combinations for like a
No.
third of the cost.
Yes.
These are super cool, but they're not like gemstone dice.
very
But
fair.
they're
Wormwood-
if you want really cool
know,
dice, these
At
are
a
a
third of the cost.
It's true. I agree with that. But like, I don't feel like it was a bad price for the Wormwood ones.
No,
I just
I'm
hope
not saying
no.
the Wormwood were overpriced.
they're really good.
I'm
You know what?
saying
This is almost like Kirkland brand dice. You spend
yeah,
low
I'll
cost
buy that.
but get the
I'll buy
high
that.
quality.
Yeah. Best choice. Best choice dice right here.
Best,
Yeah.
like honestly, I love these. I will probably back these. To be very honest,
Yeah,
I
these
will
are cool.
probably get
These
the
are cool.
Magma Storm. For a roll, I have to give these. I think beautiful dice out the gate. Layout for a Kickstarter campaign, perfect for dice. That is exactly what it should be.
Yep.
Simple. Go down the list. Full set. Description.
I don't need
Done.
I
long
love that
descriptions.
once
I
you
love
get
it.
done looking at the dice, the page just abruptly ends.
It's
like
done.
Yep.
that's it, guys. What do you keep?
We're done now.
Like, what are you
it's almost like
scrolling
at the
for?
yeah, it's at the bottom. They should almost
Just
have
buy
like,
it.
what are you
Why
still
are you
doing
down
down
here?
Why? Like,
Buy it. Yeah.
So I'm giving these a 17 and a +1 for price point. For
They're
price
pretty.
point, I
And
think
it's good price,
22
yeah.
bucks. This is the lowest price for the nicest dice we've seen.
what was the score
Yep.
again?
17 plus
17
2
plus one.
plus one.
Yeah, solid high. Was that highest score of the night and well deserved?
Yeah.
I think for
Gorgeous.
yeah.
This is cool stuff.
That being said, this is the end of our episode 12.
What are you still doing here?
What are you still doing here?
What are you
If you
doing?
missed any of this episode, it is going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel that you are watching this on right now. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and ask questions in the comments. Joe, you want to say something?
I started this 2 episodes ago, and last week Hannah was gone, and it just kind of slipped my mind. But I wanted to introduce just kind of like a random question for all of us to just talk about at the end of the session. And something kind of tipped my mind when we were talking about some of the campaigns earlier. What is the most memorable monster or villain that has been introduced in a campaign that you have played in or that you have ran?
I have a
The
good
most
one.
and it doesn't have
Yes.
to be the most
Comment
evil, but
below.
what is the most memorable or most what is the most memorable monster or villain that you have introduced?
Answer
Okay.
in the comments below. We look forward to seeing them.
But
I-
Hannah, you've run a lot of campaigns and you've
Yeah.
probably had a lot of bad guys.
Yeah.
Who's one that really stands out in your mind?
You're not gonna believe this. First of all, guys, Joe does not give us these questions ahead of time, so we do panic. But I do have one that you're not gonna believe this. It was totally derailed my entire campaign. It was an NPC that I introduced as just like a bad dude. Like he was just a jerk, but he literally took over my entire campaign.
Oh my god.
And my characters hated him so much, they literally named the campaign Kill Darren. So that was just his name. His name was Darren, and what he was he was supposed to be this stall vendor that my level 1 party was bringing goods to, and he was supposed to pay them for the goods, but he was a jerk and knew they couldn't do anything about it, so he shortchanged them and did not give them the amount of gold that was like agreed upon
Agreed.
ahead of time from their employer or whatever. And so they hated him so much. And every time anything came up in my campaign, they'd be like, I bet Darren has something to do with that. So of course, Darren did have something to do with that. And he ended up being my big bad end boss because they were so obsessed with him. Because he was just a jerk and he shorted them money.
All right.
This is the most memorable one.
I think the most memorable villain that has been introduced in my campaign, it is kind of a hands down winner, possibly, but it was this character arc with one of the members of our party where her brother had went missing, and there was this whole side quest to like track down her brother in this giant capital city. And the way that they had to do that was they had to find this like child trafficker, which was a hobgoblin named Fargle, and he talked with like a really like southern accent, like, hey boy, you know, like it was like it was
awful.
It was very
Oh.
uncomfortable, but there was a whole sequence where they actually used a kid that they knew in the city as bait, and I had to
These
role
terrible
play this
people.
entire literally like predatory hobgoblin
Oh,
finding
God.
this
It
child
was
in the middle of the night.
psychologically awful.
It was very damaging, but I think it was extremely
It's very
memorable.
damaging.
Very
And
damaging.
the players loved
I would agree.
murdering. Like they
We
took
loved killing
great
him.
pleasure in murdering him.
It was a
Yep.
great day.
So
Yep.
It was a
Yeah.
great day.
So
Um,
bad. So tell us about your cringeworthy villain down below.
Yes, absolutely.
man.
Thank you so much. We will see you in a few weeks for our next episode. And
Alex, you're not going to tell us
I'm not a DM.
He's not. He's
you're not a
just
DM,
a
but
little
like
player.
you played like
That's true. What was your most memorable as a player?
Fargle's definitely up there. I think Fargle's definitely up there. I swear. Tara, man. She didn't deserve any of the hate. Sorry, I just need to go back because you were talking about this character Darren. And we had a character in our campaign who she just didn't do anything, and she I think made a mistake. She made a mistake happen in our campaign and caused us to have to go through this whole fight. I think that's what it was, and therefore she became
You just
our
hated
punching
her.
bag.
no, as the DM, there was an NPC traveling with the party. They had just met him and he was traveling with the party and they really liked him. And I thought it'd be a really good moment when they got into this fight for him to die. So this
Right.
other NPC that was a cleric traveling with them did not heal him when he
Oh,
was dying.
right.
And they
Yeah.
blamed her and said
That's
she
what it
wanted
was.
him to die.
Yeah, she wanted him to die. So from then on,
Oh.
we just essentially Tara, get out of here. Like, Tara, what are you
Just
doing here?
leave.
I swear. Now, if you bring Tara back as a villain, I will not tell them. I will not tell them if you bring this. I honestly consider it at this point because I would die laughing. I think
Every
that's so
time
funny.
it's something that you do not expect. Like I did not plan for half of my villains to happen, and they just hate them for some reason. So it's
Yeah.
perfect.
So I think Tara's a good one up there. I think that's really funny. But thank you all so much. Give us your answers in the comments below. That's a great question, Joe. And this has been Roll for Review, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.